when the best of me is barely breathing, when I'm not somebody I believe in, hold on to me. When I miss the light, the night is stolen, when I'm slamming all the doors you've opened, hold on to me. Hold on to me. Hold on to me when it's too dark to see you, when I am sure I have reached the end. Hold on to me when I forget I need you, when I let go, hold me again. When I don't feel like I'm worth defending, when I'm tired of my pretending, hold on to me. When I start to break in desperation, underneath the weight of expectation, hold on to me. Hold on to me.
Hey guys, it's Tanya back to record the 5th episode. I'll try to get 6 and 7 in. Who knows? We'll see. Remember, not used to doing this. It's weird for me. I have to sit with somebody. And I've worked midnights all week, so as of right now, I have not been to bed. So bear with me as I'm tired and had to have a procedure today done on my face because I told y'all I pick or whatever and scarred my face. So to pick up where we left off, I had mentioned the DHR supervisor phone call 2 weeks after shelter care requesting prescriptions. I, on that phone call, asked her about any collateral contacts that she had made that I provided a plethora of on that initial phone call with the green worker on 11/24, the day before Thanksgiving 2021. And she informs me that to check with professional collaterals inquiring on the parenting skills of my husband and me, my husband and I, and Kings' safety, were done so through Hueytown Police Department, and that is the only collateral they used, based off of calls that I had made to them because of incidences that occurred at my rental property and at my home that involved my ex-sister-in-law and niece and her husband. And again, those details of that whole scenario I will go into in a different episode. At this point, I do need to note that I have plenty of proof that they are who did the things I've said, but I have not yet finished the legal part of that with handling it through the courts and all that, because all that takes a process. But there's an investigator involved with the Secret Service and all that kind of stuff. It's deep, people. It's deep. So they use the Hueytown Police Department based off of calls that I had placed for my own protection as their collateral, and they were also considering the people I rented to. These are the people that made the report, by the way. And that was the only professional collateral DHR used. They only have to use one. That's who they chose. Not the doctor's offices, not the school, not daycare, not owners of the daycare, but the police department, based off of calls I had placed and the people I rented to. And then also, because after I do the episodes, I think, oh no, I messed up and said this and didn't add this. So I'm trying to fill in some gaps in this one. So the green worker had requested a home visit at shelter care to come and do that home visit the day after shelter care. So that would be that Thursday, the week of January 10th. So that would be January 13th, which is the same date that the letter dismissing me as being indicated in the fact that the case was being closed as a prevention assessment was dated. So she came the day after, and when she walked in, and this is on recording, and again, this isn't to boast, but her quote, I'll quote her, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. King should have never been removed. He is such a good kid and so smart." As she detailed his math skills as she drove him to my father's home that dreadful day, January 10th. And I had mentioned that Jefferson County has to close a case within 45 days if they're indicating the parent or guardian, whoever the report was made on, if they're indicating that person for child abuse and neglect. Well, since it wasn't being indicated and it was being closed as a prevention assessment, they actually had 60 days. So they were reaching that 60-day mark on the day that they did my letter and closed the case. That actually put them at 50 days for closing, dating the closure disposition letter of 113, signed by both the green worker and her supervisor. This is the letter that it took an act of Congress for me to get. And you can probably understand why. They did not want me to know that they dropped the ball and didn't do their job and had removed my child and had placed him in the court system and had also now had me ordered all these services, and now I'm having to deal with another DHR in Calhoun County who were just dumbfounded and never could wrap their head around the case. My son's grades dropped from hundreds to zeros. I'm just using round numbers there. But, he was making A's, and they dropped to severe F's within the first 2 weeks of removal. I had no idea because he's at my dad's house who wasn't relaying information. I will get more in depth about my father's place in all of this as time goes on with episodes. But my husband and I immediately, upon finding that out about his grades, met with the school principal and counselor. And they informed us no calls were ever made to the school, despite us having given them as a collateral reference on 11/24, the day the report was made, the first contact I had from the green worker, which was also the first day the report was made. Because when a child is over the age of 3, and I may have that off by a little bit, and they may have changed the policy on that, but when they're not considered so young that they can't really talk for themselves, they have 5 days to respond to a report. But she immediately responded, and they thought that my child was in imminent risk, and that's the reason she immediately responded, I guess, calling me the day she got the report. But the school says that the only call made to them ever by DHR was to inform them of the intent to remove Kingsley, and they made that call on January 10th before coming to remove him. That day, he goes to a private Christian school. He came home with a Bible verse, Matthew 16:24 through 26, which states, "Take up your cross and follow Jesus." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" So if people want to follow it in plain terms, New James Version. Am I saying that right? New King James Version, yeah. So in layman's terms, if people want to follow me, Christ, they must give up the things that they want. And they have to be willing to give up their lives and follow me. And those who want to save their lives will give up true life. And those who give up their lives for me will have true life. Kingsley came home with that Bible verse the day he was removed. That was his verse to learn for the week. So I knew then that God had this. And I would not give up my faith. And I would fight to every means I had. And every fight I had in me to get justice for my son. not me and my husband, but my child, Kingsley. And knowing Kingsley came home with that verse was, God's way of telling me, I got this. You just sit back and do what you got to do, but I got this in the end. And as months and months have gone by, I have found that to be more and more true. So I moved forward with Calhoun County. They wanted to do an ISP. So this green worker, the following week after I was informed in office when I went up there demanding that letter, the week after that, I was informed by the green worker that Calhoun County wanted to do their own ISP, individualized service plan. That's that chart thing that says mommy and daddy are going to do X, Y, and Z and get their life together so they can get their child back. They gave us a 1-hour notification. I didn't go. Just like I didn't sign the first one, I was like, are you kidding me? So, did not go for that. My husband and my father went, and almost didn't sign it. And I had told them not to sign it, but it's not a court order. So, but there's that. I also, in the interim of all I've told you, left out that I went to, the day I went to the Bessemer Courthouse to receive documents that ended up leading me down to filing my own petition for an emergency hearing. I'm sorry for any background noise, too. Sorry, squirrels. See, that's that ADHD. That same day I went to the clerk's office in Bessemer, I went up to the judge's chamber who didn't sign that order, but then eventually did sign it after the commissioner's office got involved. I went up to her chambers begging to see her so I could let her know, let me tell you what you've done and what was not done and how the reason I shouldn't be in the predicament I'm in. Of course, she wasn't there and this and that. Well, that's all right because I talked to the bailiff and he listened to me and he took a note. I left a note. I'm really known for like grabbing bags of McDonald's food and tearing off paper and writing notes. That'll come later, the irony behind that. But anyways, I wrote on whatever I could find and left a note for her. So I wanted her to know. Nothing ever came of that, by the way. And then I wanted to add this piece that, the Bible states that we're all of dust. We start as dust. It's kind of like the analogy of, we're a seed planted, and then the more dirt that we dump on ourselves and don't do anything to water or nourish ourselves, we will not flourish and bloom, right? And so I made the decision that I was going to water and nourish myself and my husband and Kingsley and our family. But, the Bible says we're all made of dust. When we begin, we're just dust. So my husband and I, over the time that we did not have Kingsley, I know so many of y'all have questions, and I've been reached out personally and asked stuff, and I don't want to give the ending away just yet because I want everyone to understand the dire situation we were in that Kingsley was in. Again, this is about Kingsley. This is about having a voice for children who cannot speak for themselves, for parents who don't know what to do. I mean, what if I wasn't a social worker? What if I didn't have the knowledge of child welfare and education behind it and worked in the system? Most people don't, and they feel helpless, and they just sit back and then they end up without their child forever. And that was not going to happen to me. So in the interim of not having Kings, which is some time that we do not have Kingsley, months and months and months and months, and here we are. Are we in November? We're in November now. Months of not having Kingsley. My husband and I are, like I said, we're having to sell off things, and so then we began deciding, well, we're going to have to sell the house. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? So let's go look at some land. So that's what we do. My husband had gone and looked at some land I had told him about. Then came back and was like, I didn't go up there because it looked like somebody was like living there. I was like, there's no way. It's a dilapidated property sitting on the 25 acres. So I was like, we were out riding around looking. This is, days later after he's told me he had ridden by.